Hello, welcome to the Petcast, brought to you by leading pet charity Blue Cross. I'm Emma Barton and I have my co-host Poppy Dog sleeping behind me for the moment. Now, if you're a parent, at some point you may have found yourself on the receiving end of the question, can we have a puppy? Or can we have a hamster, cat, rabbit, or even a pony? And while having a pet is a wonderful experience for a child and probably a way of keeping the peace for you, how do you ensure it's as much fun for your new pet too?
Actually looking at them, understanding when they might be feeling a bit sad or a bit scared or even happy. So it's a great experience for children to be brought up with a pet.
Kerry Taylor is an education manager at Blue Cross, and her team visits schools and gives online talks helping children learn about the joys and responsibilities of sharing your life with an animal. In this episode, she'll give us tips on the right pet options for children and how to look after them.
If a child wants a lot of handling and interaction, then maybe a hamster isn't the best type of pet for them.
And this is what we do on the Petcast. Have candid conversations around the big issues facing pet lovers like me and you, with some of the UK's leading pet experts who are on hand to give us their best tips, tricks and guidance. Kerry, welcome back to the Petcast. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you, Emma.
Right, well, so your job is all about children and animals and sharing lots of knowledge about pets to the younger generation. So what is it about animals that most children seem to love so much?
Yeah, do you know what? I think it's so hard to pinpoint that, isn't it? You can see a child when they meet a dog or a cat and they just seem to light up. And I knew myself, as a child, I always loved animals. And there's just this connection, I think, with children and pets. And I feel very lucky, actually, that I work with both. So I love teaching children and talking to them about pets. And also, pets have been my lifelong passion. So, yeah, I feel very fortunate.
What do you think are the benefits sort of growing up around a pet? I'm begging my mum and dad for a dog from about the age of 4. We got a hamster, Rolo, my brother and I, instead. But that took a long time to sort of win my parents round. But I suppose you suddenly feel responsible for something else.
Yeah, definitely. And I was that child as well. I used to beg my parents for a dog, absolutely beg them all the time. And now I look back, I actually understand why we didn't have a dog. We had a really busy lifestyle and we had lots of clubs and things going on. But like you, I got a hamster instead. And I think most children do. But it was a great way for my parents to actually see that I could take responsibility for a pet and I could look after them. Yeah, and those benefits are huge to children, from building confidence, learning about responsibility, building empathy. So empathy is something that you develop as a child and you need to practice. And caring for a pet is a great way of doing that. Actually looking at them, understanding when they might be feeling a bit sad or a bit scared or even happy. So it's a great experience for children to be brought up with a pet.
Kerry, do you have any tips for bringing your first family pet home?
It's always important, I think, as a family, just to make sure you prepare. So get everything that you need ready. So if it's a dog, for example, you bring home a puppy, make sure that they've got their bed. Make sure you do it as a family as well. Let's have a think about what best places we can put the bed, where we're going to put the food and water bowl. Where's their quiet space going to be? So doing that as a family can really help. And that way, when that new pet comes home, you're all ready, you're all set up. You don't have to think about those things. And then really, it's just about relaxing. So there's so many emotions. Everyone's so excited, but the pet may be feeling a little bit anxious, a little bit excited at some points. And it's important just to relax and let them settle in, give them that time and don't rush it.
Yeah. Well, I could imagine, it's just me and Poppy Dog, but, if, say, for example, you have got the mum and dad and, say, 2 children, who do we listen to? Because that dog or cat is going to be a bit scared, like you said. And who's in charge? Who's the one that has to say, right, I'm the one that's giving the rules out here. And you don't want the children sort of pulling the tail there or saying, oh, I want the dog or I want the cat in my bedroom. And how do you get around that?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. And actually, you want your children to feel ownership and to feel empowered to make choices and decisions. But ultimately, as the adult and as the parent, you are the one that needs to make sure that relationship is going to blossom and everyone's going to be really happy. So I'm just trying to think so I've got two daughters. I've got Poppy, who's 8,
Good name.
and Bella, who's 4. And Diddy, our dog, who me and my husband Sean, I mean, he's 13 years old now. So we had him a long time before the children came. And I was so worried because he was our life and everything. But I wanted that relationship to build naturally, but I had to step in and give those boundaries when, for example, when the children are at toddler phase, they do like tails and they do want to go in the dog's space. And that's really uncomfortable for the dog. So I did have to, okay, look, here's the boundaries. This is why. And talking to children about the reasons why, how would you feel if, even from a really young age, can be really beneficial. And that's a massive life skill. We want children to go out and be safe in the community around dogs they don't know. So you can turn it into a bit of a lesson as well, and a bit of a family, I suppose, structure and routine as well.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. And also, I suppose, all using the same words. Otherwise, it's so confusing. I've seen that before myself where, like, I might use a word for wanting my doggy to do something, and then my dad might say something totally other, but she doesn't really understand that word. So,
You're so right.
all having the same sort of vocabulary. So,
you're so
I suppose
right.
it's important.
And the thing is, well, like, we forget sometimes that children learn by watching us. So how I am with Diddy and how my husband Sean is with Diddy, our children pick up on that. So, if we're saying, don't be grabbing Diddy around the neck and giving him a cuddle, don't be giving him a kiss, don't be, bothering while he's eating. It's really important that we live those things as well. So we make sure we don't do it. And then the children pick up actually, oh yeah, mum and dad don't do that. And I know the reason behind that.
Yeah, totally. No, that's good. And so, going from that, actually, what are the common sort of mistakes family make when they're getting a pet?
Yeah, I think, again, it comes down to that excitement. And we often hear at Blue Cross many stories where families have gone out and made an impulse buy. And that can be a really common mistake because, I mean, it's hard, isn't it? We were both those children that were like, Mum, can we please have a pet? And it's hard to say no. And if you buy a pet on an impulse, you haven't necessarily done that research behind that pet, what they need. Do we know about how much time they're going to take, the cost of them, where have we got it from? If you come and get a rescue pet from Blue Cross, for example, we help you through all that process. They've been vet checked. We support you along the way. But if it's off a website or a friend of the family, you haven't got that structure in place.
And that's it. That's another thing as well is knowing sort of, I guess, their history. And, if you are getting a puppy, you don't know how this puppy is going to turn out to be. You don't know what their mummy and daddy's like. That's when you've got to be, I guess, so careful. And yes, they might have the most beautiful face, but, you don't know if what they're going to turn out like, So, you've got to put that sort of homework in, I guess, and all be in on it together. And I've seen it. I've seen families that have said, "Oh, we're going to get a puppy," and a month down the line, you say, "Well, how's puppy life going?" And, "Oh, well, my little Fred is not getting on with the dog, and he doesn't like it," and it's so sad to hear. And you think, well, how are you going to overcome that?
Yeah, and that does happen. We do hear stories of that all the time. And it is about recognizing that. So I think for some families, sometimes you carry on and you think it will be okay. Things will change, and it doesn't. So if you recognize that actually we may have made the wrong decision, or we've got some things that we really need to work on to make sure we're all a happy family together, then take those steps early. So whether it's, contacting a charity like Blue Cross and getting advice, going to a really reputable behaviorist and getting some training advice on that, get those steps in early, because the longer you leave it, the harder it can be. And also something important to remember, I think, is these things happen and circumstances change, or it doesn't always work out for families, but that is okay. Although it's really hard for people to get their head around, we have many families come to Blue Cross who are devastated about having to give their pet to us, sign their pet over to us. They love their pet, but they know it isn't working. And removing that judgment from yourselves, is really important as well. And making sure you go to that charity to get that help is really important.
How should the kids and their parents start looking for a pet? So, say, for example, I wanted to go and get a kitten, or I wanted, or rehome a cat, for example. Where do I start? Where do I start?
Yeah, there's so much to think about. But the first thing is do it as a family. Sit down, think about what type of pet you want. What would fit your lifestyle? How much time can we give that pet? What do you want from that pet? If you're getting a kitten, you probably want to play with the kitten. You want to have that interaction. You want a bit of fun with them. You also might want a lap cat and lots of strokes. And building that picture of the ideal pet helps, because then you have an idea of what you're looking for. If a child wants a lot of handling and interaction, then maybe a hamster isn't the best type of pet for them. As we know as kids who had hamsters, they sleep most of the day. And if you're wanting to be playing with the pet in the day, then, it might not be quite right. So get all that in place and then really look at where you might get them from. So charities are always a great option because you know what you're getting, they're health checked, you get that support. And ultimately, you're doing a good thing. You're helping a pet in need. But if there isn't a suitable pet at a charity, then make sure you do that research and you see the parents of the pet that you're looking for. If it's a dog, for example, ring up the vet. So if you're going to visit a puppy, what vet are they using? Can you get recommendations? Chat to as many people as you can, because taking a longer time to pick the right pet will be well worth it in the long run.
Definitely, because we do get overexcited, don't we? So I'll have that one. How important is it to see, for example, a doggy, their mummy and daddy?
So important, so important, because you learn so much from watching a puppy with their mother. And you want to make sure that actually is their mother. Have you seen that puppy drinking? Have you seen them socializing with the other puppies? Are they living indoors rather than living outside? Because actually a puppy who is brought up outside in a kennel, for example, has no experience of living in a house. They've never heard a washing machine. They've never heard the telly. And the first kind of 6 to 8 weeks of a puppy's life is where they soak in all this information. So, make sure that you are seeing all those, with the mother, getting all the papers and vaccination records. And Blue Cross has some amazing information online about, if you are looking at getting a puppy, here are all the things to look out for. So, do make sure you get all that info.
My puppy dog was outside, actually, and she fitted in very well into the house.
Yeah.
But it was certain noises, like she did not like the sound of the Hoover or for a while. And actually now she's still at 12 and a half. She still likes to have a go at it. She's what about other pets as well, like hamsters, rats or rabbits?
Yeah, and I think most people, when they think about getting a pet, dogs and cats come to mind first off, don't they? But actually, small pets do make fantastic family pets, as long as you know about them and you set your expectations, I suppose. So like I said, with a hamster, if they're going to be asleep in the day, that's okay. But make sure that the children aren't waking them up and trying to get them out to handle them. Rats make fantastic family pets, although their reputation, doesn't.
I know. I'm raising my eyebrows, Kerry, because obviously I love all animals. And I haven't actually cuddled a rat or picked one up or known anybody that's had a rat. But go on, tell me how wonderful rats are.
They're amazing. They're sociable. They're very clean, and people don't think they are, but they are really clean. You can even train rats. And I've known my nephew who's got a rat, does little agility courses with his rat. He loves it,
Fantastic.
Yeah, great fun for the pet, great fun for him as well. I mean, he's 10 years old, so absolutely loves that. And that sort of pet is really good fun for kids, and they get to learn a lot. So, don't discount rats, I don't think, as a family.
If your pet is unwell or feeling a bit tired, how do we teach our children sort of to respect their animals?
Yeah, it's a really good point. It's so important to talk to children about not invading their space, because we know, if you're sleeping and your alarm goes off or if someone comes scared you and woke you up, you could be a bit grumpy. you might be a bit scared.
Absolutely.
And it's exactly
I'll throw
the same.
something at them.
There you go. It's exactly the same for our pets. So I remember when I was obviously with Diddy and my girls, there's certain times of the day or when Diddy would do certain things that I talked to them about. Actually, we need to leave Diddy alone now. And one of those is when he was sleeping. So if he goes off to his bed, if he takes himself off to his bed, he's tired. He wants some rest. He needs a bit of time out. And actually talking to them about when Diddy's in his bed, that's his space, and that's a time to leave him alone. When he's eating, again, that's really important because just like us, I don't like anyone taking my food off me. And it can be the same for dogs. So when Diddy's eating, the girls will leave him be. They won't come in his space. Or you can even have a stair gate that you can separate them, especially if you've got really young children. A stair gate can be so useful. And it's not a punishment for a dog in any way. It should be a positive. Actually, the dog's eating, he's in his safe space. We leave him be. And the other thing I really found as well, when the girls were eating, nightmare.
Yes.
They
just drop something maybe on the floor just to say, you can have some of that, Diddy, too, if you like?
And they very quickly learn that Diddy would be there in a second. What are you eating? And although that seems quite cute at the beginning, you're like, oh, look, he's gone to see them. Actually, you don't want him eating the scraps of food that they drop. It could be something that isn't good for him. Also, from a young age, you don't want the children to start thinking that's a fun game, because you can then start having the dog coming up, jumping up, taking things off the table, out of the children's hands. Kids walk around with food. And I didn't want Diddy picking them out of his hands and accidentally hurting them, for example. So very much in our household, to try and keep that peace and that happy relationship, any food time was separated. So whether that's Diddy eating or it's the girls, if the girls are eating, then I give Diddy a Kong stuffed with some good treats for him, and he'd go off as well and have his own little treats. And I really found that helped our family so much. Just those little things made such a difference.
Yeah, so they know the rules, and then your pet does too. I notice as well some little ones, when they want to come and give Poppy a cuddle, they sort of smack the dog on sort of the back. How do we teach them to sort of stroke your animal or pick up, so like your rabbit, up properly? Where do we go for advice on that?
Yeah, I mean, especially toddler age, when children are wobbly and they're like falling around. If dog comes over, and children that age don't know how hard they're doing anything. They're learning about their own body and reading body language of other people. So that sort of interaction needs to be really closely monitored by the owner and the parent. And it is more about letting the dog come up and have a sniff. And if they want to stroke, it's about encouraging that child to, use the back of their hand and gently down the shoulder, not on the head. It's going to be very hard at a really young age for them to fully understand that. But practicing that, and as soon as the dog's had enough, let that dog go, give short sessions, really positive sessions, and that's going to really help. With rabbits, it's a little bit more difficult, I suppose. Rabbits are prey animals. They don't like to be picked up. They don't feel safe.
Do they not?
No, they don't feel safe in the air. And that's when they might scratch, and a child can become a little bit scared of a rabbit.
And drop it. Jump and drop the animal. Yeah, that's a worry.
So the best thing you can do is actually just get into a safe enclosed environment, whether that's in the run in the garden or, sat in your house if a rabbit's comfortable in there. Get the child to sit down and just let the rabbit hop around, hop about, have a little sniff. If they really want the rabbit on their lap, you could put a little, if they're sat down, put a little pillow on there so their nails aren't going to hurt them, and encourage the rabbit up. But really let that form naturally, so you're not forcing the child to pick up any rabbit or anything like that where a situation might happen.
At the moment, there's a little bit of a trend going on social media, like on TikTok and Reels and on Insta, doing little videos with their animals and their pets. Is this fun? It might be to the people doing their recording, the teenagers or the younger kids, but Is this, is this going to scare or upset our pets? And what's your views on this, Kerry?
Yeah, I mean, I cringe every time I see these things because, like you said, is it fun? And actually, when you look at some videos, if there was real trend of scaring your pet and seeing their reaction, or getting in your pet's space and seeing how they react. And when you really think about it, we're putting pets in a situation that makes them feel uncomfortable, scared. They can't talk to us. They can't tell us. And in some of these videos, you can see the body language, the dogs with the white eyes and they're carrying back, their ears are back. And actually, I suppose what really worries me is out in society, people are watching these videos and thinking it's okay. And especially young children or younger people, they see in these and they think it's okay to put animals in that situation. And I understand people think it's a bit of fun, but when you really look at it, it's not nice to put our pets in that situation.
I suppose it's a lack of understanding the peer pressure, but our furry friend doesn't want to have that hat on and doing all these tricks.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Yeah.
If they're unhappy, I think you've got to call it a day. So yeah, I think we should leave the pranks alone.
I love seeing videos where pets are in their natural environment and enjoying it. So I did I've been looking at TikTok and the trends and things, and I saw a little rabbit who was like jumping around and they do their little kicks, and he was with a friend, and it was the owner of this rabbit was videoing what rabbits love to do, and I would love to see more of that. More of the good stuff.
Let's push that.
Yeah.
Come on. Share your videos on what they are actually doing. I do. I film Poppy Dog all the time when she sleeps in the most ridiculous way and snores her head off and things like that. I just think, oh, that's brilliant. She's happy.
Yeah.
She's happy. Yeah. On the flip side of it, like, obviously, what do we do if our children are scared, a little bit nervous? I've got a niece who she loves animals and she says she's so confident and I'm very happy around them, but actually there is a side that she is a little bit nervous. I can tell Poppy Dog knows this with her, but also like we go and visit farms, and there's donkeys or horses and you can, offer them a carrot or whatever, a bit of apple. And it's saying to and reassuring the children that they're not going to hurt you. That's the only sentence I feel that comes to mind. Is that enough?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good start to say, actually, these animals are okay. And the main thing is not to push that situation. So we know, if we're scared of something, I'm not particularly fond of spiders. And if someone made me pick up a spider, I'd be very scared. And it's very similar with our children. If they are scared, it's okay that they're scared and they're telling us how they feel. And that's better, actually. But we need to just build that up really, really slowly and carefully to not make the situation worse. So one of my friend's sons, actually, he's quite scared of dogs. And I know that Diddy, my dog, is really friendly. And we've been working now for the last few months where they might pop over and we put Diddy in his little safe space and he has a little Kong there and he's quite happy. And then when Charlie is more comfortable and, he's feeling better, he's sat on the sofa, then we'll say, oh, do you want to see Diddy? And he's like, oh, okay. And we just let Diddy have a sniff around, wander around. And then by the end of that kind of 30 minutes, he'd give him a little treat and getting him to do a little trick. So it's about just doing it really slowly and not forcing any of those situations because you don't want to make it worse.
And not making a big deal of things. I mean, and you forget, a donkey's head or a horse's head is massive compared to a 5-year-old, so it's sort of us going, oh, no, they're okay. I don't know if that 5-year-old's actually going to believe me at first, but I suppose the slow approach is going to work. Before we go, what are you and your team doing in terms of working with schools and groups during this horrid time of coronavirus?
It's even more important, I suppose, than ever to be talking to parents and children about pets, because for the last 6 months, we've all been at home a lot more. And some pets will flourish in that environment and they'll love having the kids around all the time and everyone being at home. And other pets, it may be more tiring, more stressful. It may have a negative impact on that relationship with you, the children and the pet. So at Blue Cross, we are so aware that we still need to talk to children about pets. So we were very lucky that we were kind of trialing online talks before the coronavirus happened. So we were ready to launch online talks to children in schools, youth groups, even for those that were stuck home with home learning. And our online talks are great. They're really engaging. They're teaching children how to respect pets, how to understand what needs they have, and also stay safe around dogs. So we have a fantastic network of volunteer speakers and an amazing team that do wonders talking to children about pets. So I'm really pleased that during this time we've still managed to fly the pet flag and still let children learn about pets.
So what is the one thing you would say to a mum and dad who has a child? And I was one of those child. You said you were one of those child. Mummy and daddy, can we get a pet?
I love it now. Sometimes I feel like I've turned into my mum. So I'm saying,
yeah, I know, me too.
I'm like, wow, we haven't got the time. We haven't got this to my children. But I think the best advice I can give is if you're at that stage where you're being nagged, really think about that decision and get your family involved, get them to do the research, sit down. And I got my daughter to do like posters about pets and things like that, get them involved in that early stages. And then the biggest tip, which I think really helped our family with Diddy and everyone settling in, is just give it time. If you do end up getting a new pet, let that relationship build naturally. And don't feel like, the pet's been here one day and everyone's going to love each other. It's all going to be fine. And you know how things work. Give that time and let that pet have more choices about whether they're going to interact with the children or are they going to go and have that quiet time on their own. And that way you build that foundation for a really strong, lovely relationship, beneficial for the family and the pet. And I think that's really important.
Can you borrow a pet? So say your friends or your neighbour or your brother or sister, they've got a cat or a dog or even a hamster. I mean, is that a good thing to do?
I think that's a great idea, as long as it's suitable for the pet. So the first thing is the pet can deal with that. But actually, if you're thinking about getting a dog and you've got friends or family that are going on holiday or, need someone to look after them for the weekend, fantastic. Make sure you've got everything in place that can keep that dog happy. Again, put those boundaries in place for the kids. And it's a really good way of actually thinking, oh yeah, this might suit our lifestyle. I think we could have a dog.
Yeah, I think, that is it. I think that's a good. I think for the adult then to see how their children are reacting to having this animal around. Oh, Kerry, thank you so much for talking to me today. You've just come out with these wonderful bits of advice. But where do we go if we want a little bit more?
Yeah, the really good place to go is obviously Blue Cross website. Got some fantastic information on there. Great YouTube videos about pet advice. So that's a really good place to go. And just make sure, if you're doing that research phase, go to credible places for advice, like a charity. We all know if you Google something, you'll get 100 different answers to it. So you can fall down a trap which is not the right information. Get your kids to the library. Use those local communities out there that have really good books, advice there as well. So there's lots you can do, but really do take that time to do that little research phase and make sure you get the right pet for you and your family.
Thank you so much. That's it for this Petcast, but there's tons more information on our website, bluecross.org.uk/podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please feel free to share it with fellow pet lovers. And if you love it, write us a review on your podcast app. It will help people to find the series more easily. I'm Emma Barton. The Petcast is a Bengo media production for Blue Cross.